You're sitting in your car outside Target at 9:47 p.m. on a Wednesday night, staring at your banking app, trying to calculate if you can afford the $43 worth of stuff in your cart without overdrafting your account. Toothpaste, laundry detergent, a birthday card for your nephew. Basic necessities. Basic human stuff. And while you're doing this poverty math in a Target parking lot, your coworker Sarah just posted photos from her second vacation this month. Cabo. Again. She's sipping margaritas on a beach, posting sunset photos with captions about gratitude and living your best life. Here's what makes this absolutely maddening. Sarah makes the exact same salary you do. Same job title. Same paycheck. Same rent in the same expensive city. But somehow she's living a completely different financial reality, while you're rationing toiletries and doing mental calculations about overdraft fees. So what the hell is going on? Is she secretly rich? Did she inherit money from a wealthy relative? Is she drowning in credit card debt behind those perfectly filtered Instagram photos, just pretending everything is fine? My name is Max, and the answer to this mystery is going to make you unreasonably angry. Because it's none of those things. Sarah made one boring financial decision 6 years ago. She spent maybe 30 minutes setting it up, and then she literally forgot about it. That decision is currently worth $43,000. In 34 years, it'll be worth $2.8 million. And that decision costs exactly the same amount you probably spent on DoorDash and Netflix last month. If you're tired of watching people who make the same money somehow live completely different lives, hit that subscribe button. Because today we're going to talk about the math that nobody bothered to teach you in school, and how one decision creates two entirely different futures. Let me introduce you to two people who started in exactly the same place. Person A, we'll call her Jessica. She's 28 years old, makes $65,000 per year working in marketing, drives a 2019 Honda Civic she bought used for $18,000, and her investment account currently has $47,000 in it. Person B, we'll call her Amanda, also 28 years old, also makes $65,000 per year in the same field, drives a brand new 2024 BMW 3 Series that she's very proud of. Her investment account has $3,200 in it. Both of them think they're doing fine financially. Both of them think they basically have the same life because they make the same salary and live in similar apartments. Let's fast forward and watch what actually happens to these two people over the next few decades. At age 35, 7 years from now, Jessica has $162,000 invested. Her account has been growing steadily without her doing much of anything. Amanda has $31,000. The gap is noticeable, but Amanda's not particularly worried yet. She's still young. There's plenty of time to catch up. At age 45, Jessica has $535,000 invested. Amanda has $94,000. Now Amanda's starting to panic just a little bit, but she's got 2 kids now, a bigger house with a bigger mortgage, and even less financial margin to save aggressively. At age 55, compound interest has officially gone vertical for Jessica. She has $1.52 million. Amanda has $218,000. Amanda is frantically Googling articles about how to catch up on retirement at 55, and realizing she would need to save 40% of her income going forward to match Jessica. That's not happening. That's mathematically impossible with her current lifestyle. At age 65, Jessica has $4.32 million and retires wealthy. She's completely financially free. Amanda has $461,000. She's doing the math and realizing she's working into at least 72 minimum, if not longer. Same starting salary, same apartment rent, same city. One of them is financially free and can do whatever she wants. The other is trapped, working well into her 70s, stressed about money constantly. So what did Jessica do differently? $500 per month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, automatically withdrawn from her checking account on the 1st of every month. And then she forgot the account existed. She checked it maybe once a year, said, "Cool, it's still growing," and went back to living her life. Amanda spent that same $500 on a car payment for her entire 20s and 30s, and now into her 40s. She has always had a car payment. That's the entire difference between $4.32 million and $461,000. One monthly decision, compounded over decades. Now you're thinking, okay, Max, $500 a month is a lot of money. I don't have an extra $500 just lying around. Where am I supposed to find $500? And here's where this conversation gets uncomfortable. Because I'm about to show you that you already have it. You're just spending it on things that won't exist in 40 years. The average American household spends $273 per month on subscription services they barely use. Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, HBO Max, Spotify, Apple Music, gym memberships they haven't visited in 8 months, meal kit services, Amazon Prime, app subscriptions they forgot they signed up for during a free trial. That's $273 right there without even trying. Then there's dining out and food delivery. But here's what that money really costs you. And this is the part that should make you physically ill. That $280 monthly restaurant and delivery budget? If you invested it instead for 30 years at a 10% average return, it becomes $632,000. That $273 monthly subscription budget? Invested over 30 years, it becomes $616,000. Every single month, you're choosing between keeping Netflix and DoorDash or retiring 7 years earlier. Most people don't even realize they're making that choice because nobody explains it this way. Let me show you the math that breaks people's brains. If you invest $500 every month for 40 years in an S&P 500 index fund that averages 10% annual returns, you end up with $3.16 million. Out of that $3.16 million, you only contributed $240,000 of your own actual money. The other $2.92 million, that's 92.4% of your total wealth, came from compound interest. You planted $240,000. The market grew it into over $3 million. Here's how the timeline breaks down. After 10 years of investing $500 monthly, you'll have about $102,000. After 20 years, $379,000. After 30 years, $1.13 million. After 40 years, $3.16 million. The first $100,000 takes about 10 years of grinding. It feels slow. It feels like nothing is happening. But going from $1 million to $2 million only takes 6.7 more years, because by that point, your money is making more money than you're adding every month. Wait, it gets even more insane. Let's compare two people. Person 1 invests $5,000 per year from age 25 to age 35. That's just 10 years. They contribute a total of $50,000, and then they stop. They never add another dollar. They just let it sit and compound at 8% annually. At age 65, they have $787,000. Person 2 waits until age 35 to start, and then invests $5,000 every single year for 30 years straight until they're 65. They contribute $150,000 total, which is 3 times more money than person 1. They end up with $611,000. The person who invested for 10 years and then stopped beats the person who invested diligently for 30 years by $175,000. That's compound interest literally punishing the person who waited, even though they did everything right. They just did it a decade too late. Time matters more than amount. Here's where you're probably getting nervous and thinking of objections. But Max, what if the market crashes? What if I invest right before everything collapses? What if this time is different? This is the objection that keeps smart people poor forever. So let's kill it with actual data. The S&P 500 has returned approximately 10% annually since 1926. That's almost 100 years of data, including the Great Depression, where the market dropped 86%. World War II, the 1970s stagflation, the dot-com crash in 2000, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID in 2020. Through all of that absolute chaos and disaster, the average return is still 10% per year. After adjusting for inflation, it's about 7% real return. Still enough to turn $500 per month into $1.3 million over 40 years. But here's the part that should make you feel better and stop worrying. The S&P 500 has never, not once in recorded history, produced a negative return over any 20-year period. If you invest consistently for 20 years, you have always made money. Always. Over 30 years, the worst return in history was 4.3% annually, which still beats inflation and grows your wealth. Every single crash has recovered. The 2020 COVID crash recovered in 5 months. The 2008 financial crisis took 5.5 years to fully recover. And here's the secret that nobody tells you. If you're investing $500 every single month through dollar cost averaging, crashes are actually your friend. When the market drops 30%, your $500 is automatically buying shares at a 30% discount. You're buying low without having to time anything. Less than half. And get this, 7 of those 10 best days happened during bear markets, right after crashes when everyone was panicking and selling. If you panic sold during a crash because you got scared, you almost certainly missed the recovery days that followed. The S&P 500 survived the Great Depression, 2 world wars, 9/11, and 2008. But sure, it probably can't survive you putting in $500 per month. You're the thing that finally breaks capitalism. That makes sense. So if the math is this obvious, if compound interest is this powerful, why are 46% of American households sitting on literally zero retirement savings? Why is the median 401k balance for people aged 55 to 64 only $88,000? Which is nowhere near enough to retire? This is where we need to talk about what's actually stopping you. And it's not the math, it's your brain. Your brain is actively trying to keep you poor. Not because it hates you, but because it was designed 200,000 years ago when the biggest financial decision was whether to eat the berries now or try to save them for tomorrow. Your brain has absolutely no evolutionary framework for understanding sacrifice $500 today to have $3 million in 40 years. So it just defaults to no, eat the berries, and you end up financing a $60,000 truck at 7% interest for 8 years. There's something called present bias. You would rather have $500 today than $50,000 in 40 years, even though the math is literally screaming that you're being an idiot. Then there's loss aversion. The psychological pain of losing $100 is 2.25 times stronger than the pleasure of gaining $100. This is why people obsessively check their portfolios during market crashes and panic sell at the absolute bottom. Research actually shows that people who check their investment accounts once per year, or better yet, never, are far more likely to build significant wealth. The less you look at it, the richer you get. And then there's lifestyle inflation. Every single time you get a raise at work, you immediately upgrade your entire life to match. Nicer apartment, better car, fancier restaurants, more expensive vacations. Research shows that 78% of people say they'll increase their savings when they get a raise. Almost none of them actually do it, unless it's completely automated and they never see the money. Your brain sees extra money in your paycheck and immediately allocates it to slightly nicer versions of things you already had. You don't even consciously decide to spend it. It just disappears into lifestyle inflation. But here's what makes me genuinely angry about this entire system. You know who's making money off your inability to save? Everyone, except you. The financial industry makes billions when you panic and trade constantly. They make $0 when you buy one simple index fund and ignore it for 40 years. That's why they will never, ever tell you that the solution is boring. Car dealerships extend loans to 7 or 8 years, so the monthly payments look affordable on paper, even though you're paying massive interest and the car is worthless before the loan is paid off. Every single advertisement you see is specifically designed to convince you that your $500 per month belongs with them, not in an investment account. They are literally stealing your retirement $500 at a time, and most people never even notice. Okay, you're probably thinking this only works for rich people who have extra money to invest. Let me tell you about a janitor who died with more money than most doctors will ever see. Ronald Reed was a gas station attendant and janitor in Vermont. He never made more than $20,000 per year in his entire life. He would show up to work in a jacket held together with safety pins. He drove a 2007 Toyota Yaris with rust eating through the doors. His coworkers made jokes about how cheap and frugal he was. One guy said, if Ron earned $50 in a week, he'd probably invest $40 of it and somehow live on $10. Ron died in 2014 at age 92. His estate lawyer called the local hospital about his will. The hospital administrator was probably expecting maybe $5,000 or $10,000 if they were lucky. The same coworkers who had spent decades making fun of his rusty car and his safety pin jacket had been working alongside a multi-millionaire and had absolutely no idea. Ron just bought dividend-paying stocks every single week for 70 years. He never sold. He could have retired at 50, but he actually liked his job and didn't need the money. That's what actual financial freedom looks like. Sylvia Bloom was a legal secretary in Manhattan who took the subway to work for 67 years. Whenever the lawyers she worked for placed stock orders, she would quietly buy smaller amounts of the same stocks with her own money. When she died, she had accumulated over $9 million and left $6.24 million to charity. Grace Groner bought 3 shares of Abbott Laboratories stock in 1935 for $180 total. She reinvested every dividend payment and never sold a single share. When she died in 2010 at age 100, those 3 original shares had become $7.2 million. Fidelity currently has 595,000 401k millionaires in their system. These aren't lottery winners or tech executives. Average contribution rate, 14.1% of salary. Average account tenure, 26 years. That's it. Consistently invest a reasonable percentage for a long time. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated. The flip side of this story is absolutely brutal. The median retirement savings for Americans aged 65 to 74 is $200,000. Social Security pays an average of $1,976 per month. 1 in 5 Americans over 65 is still working because they financially have to, not because they want to. These people worked 40 or 50 years and they're broke in retirement. They didn't fail because they were lazy or stupid. They failed because they spent the $500 on car payments and restaurant meals and subscriptions and things that seemed really important at the time, but literally don't exist anymore. People will spend 40 hours researching which $1,200 smartphone to buy, reading reviews and comparing specs, but they spend 0 hours learning how to turn $240,000 into $3 million over their working lifetime. The phone will be completely worthless in 3 years. The investment will be worth millions in 40 years. But hey, at least the camera has a really good night mode. You know what's wild? Ronald Reed, the janitor, died with $8 million. The average doctor in America dies with $1.2 million in debt. Turns out that buying a new $90,000 BMW every 3 years and living in a house you can't afford costs more money than actually being financially successful. Now let me tell you about the fee scam that's stealing $200,000 from your retirement, and nobody talks about it. If you invest $500 per month for 30 years in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund with a 0.03% expense ratio, you'll end up with $1,124,000. If you invest that same $500 per month in an actively managed mutual fund charging 1% in annual fees, which sounds small, you'll end up with $915,000. Same money, same time period. $209,000 difference. That $250,000 went straight to the fund manager's pocket for the privilege of underperforming the basic index. The funds you actually want are simple and cheap. Fidelity 500 Index Fund, ticker FXAIX. Expense ratio 0.015%. Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, ticker VOO. Expense ratio 0.03%. Schwab S&P 500 Index Fund, ticker SWPPX. Expense ratio 0.02%. Pick any one of them. They all track the exact same index and cost almost nothing. Here's what nobody tells you about the $500 you think you don't have. Invested over 30 years at 10% returns. That's $1.69 million you're trading for the privilege of driving something that loses 20% of its value the second you drive it off the dealer's lot. Every $100 per month you invest becomes $226,000 in 30 years. Every $3.33 per day becomes $250,000. The money is there. You're spending it on things that will be completely gone in 30 years instead of on being a millionaire. Let's talk about the accounts you should actually use. Roth IRA. You contribute after-tax money. Everything grows completely tax-free forever, and you never pay taxes on withdrawals in retirement. The 2026 contribution limit is $7,500 per year, which is $625 per month. On a $1.13 million portfolio, you save roughly $150,000 to $200,000 in taxes over your lifetime. If you're making under $153,000 single or $242,000 married, max this account out first. Traditional 401k. Pre-tax contributions reduce your taxable income now. If you're in the 22% tax bracket and invest $500 monthly, your actual paycheck only drops $390 because you're saving on taxes immediately. And if your employer offers matching, which 85% to 98% of employers do, it's literally free money. The most common match is 50% of the first 6% you contribute. If you make $60,000 and contribute $500 monthly, your employer adds $150 free every single month. Here's what you actually do, step by step. Step 1. Open a Roth IRA at Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. Takes 20 minutes online. Step 2. Link your bank account and transfer money. Step 3. Buy one S&P 500 index fund. FXAIX, VOO, or SWPPX. Just pick one. Step 4. Set up automatic monthly investments of $500. Step 5. Forget the account exists. Don't check it obsessively every day. Let it compound while you live your life. Check it maybe once a year. Say, cool, still growing, and move on. Look, I can show you all the math. I can tell you about janitors who became multimillionaires and doctors who died broke. I can explain compound interest 17 different ways. None of it matters if you don't actually do something. And here's the brutal truth about compound interest that nobody wants to admit. Every single day you wait, the math gets exponentially worse. Right now, $500 per month for 40 years gets you $3.16 million. Wait 1 year to start? You need $520 per month to reach the same goal. Wait 5 years, $690 per month. Wait 10 years, $1,050 per month. The target keeps moving away from you faster than you can catch up. There's a version of you that exists 40 years from now. That person is checking their investment account and seeing $3.16 million. They're planning their retirement, they're booking trips, they're helping their kids. They're not worried about money. They're not working at age 73. They're free. And there's another version of you 40 years from now. That person is trying to afford medications, working part-time at 75 because Social Security isn't enough. One unexpected emergency away from complete financial catastrophe. Wondering where all the money went. And the answer is car payments, DoorDash, Netflix, and subscriptions that seemed really important in 2026 but don't even exist anymore. Both of these people are you. Both futures are possible. The only thing that determines which one becomes real is what you do in the next 30 minutes. Open the account, set up the automatic transfer, buy the index fund, then go live your life while the math works silently in the background, building your future. Or don't, and spend the next 40 years wishing you had.